Welcome to Salsidoparanormal. I'm your host, James Salcido, and tonight I'm sharing experiences, true paranormal stories from the web, on Halloween night, on the 5th anniversary of the launch of this podcast. And very glad to be here, and looking forward to the rest of the show here. This will be a call in show, so anyone who listens to this live on Discord can request to speak, and I will fit you in as well as I can. As always, you can find all episodes of the show, along with links to social media, ways to listen, and ways to support the show at the website, and that is salsidoparanormal.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.com. And there are many ways to support the show. You can share the show with others and rate and review it on your favorite podcast platforms. You can also sign up for the Patreon feed and get all the extra content there. And for as little as $1 a month. You can also check out the merchandise store, which I'd recommend. There's all kinds of shirts and other items there. You can get with designs made by friends of the show. Support is never expected, but always appreciated, as there are expenses in making these shows. Also, please check out the links in every episode description for friends of the show. That would be Jen, the Arcane Observer, who has her own channel and is the co-host of this show whenever possible on Saturdays, and Michael Strange of Trouble Minds Radio and the Trouble Minds Radio Network, KUAP, Digital Broadcasting, where you can hear all kinds of amazing shows, as well as my own, over there 24/7 online for free. And this is going to be sort of part 2 of a Halloween series of shows here. That I released one on Halloween morning, and this one tonight will come out the day after Halloween. And then there'll be one more that comes out on Sunday. That'll be similar, another experiences show, and that'll be how this weekend goes. And I will be taking a week off after that from recording and releasing shows. It has been a busy month in a lot of ways, and I'm ready for a little break. But very glad to be here and doing these shows whenever possible, and looking forward to getting into those 900s as far as the episode numbers go after this weekend. So, um, and again, this is going to be, I'll be sharing experiences, but if anyone wants to call in through Discord, let me know, and I will, as soon as I see you and I can get to you, I will bring you in. So, let me get back to the document here, and we'll go from there. Let's see. This first one says, a few years back, my father died from cancer caused by exposure to Agent Orange in the Vietnam War. When we were arranging his funeral, the undertaker asked if there was anything we'd like to put in his casket with him. Is this the first one? That's the first one. That's kind of wild. I'll explain why in a minute, and once I get done reading this. A month after the funeral, I'm sorry, no, I think I skipped that. A few months before he passed, there we go, his two pet cats, Max and Sam, excuse me, passed away, and we had them cremated. I decided to put the cat's ashes in the casket, and we had them. I'm sorry, I'm losing my spot here. In the casket with him. There we go. A month after the funeral, I was laying in bed with my 17-month-old daughter, and she suddenly pointed at the door away and said, "Grandpa, Max and Sam." She couldn't pronounce Granddad. I asked her what she was looking at, and she looked me directly in the eyes and repeated it while pointing at an empty doorway. It wasn't scary. It was kind of nice. And that's where that one ends. The amazing thing about that is I just shared that on. I didn't read the whole thing, but I just basically summarized and shared that account on the last Trouble Minds show that came out. So I did not plan this to be the first one. Again, I just put these in here in this folder, in this file, I should say, and I read them as I find them. And did not realize this was going to be the first one today that I be reading. So that's fascinating. Possibly another synchronicity there. Again, please check out Trouble Minds. Great show, and you can also hear me on there fairly often as well. So, but yeah, that's fascinating that happened. Um, moving on to the next one here. This one says, "Okay, so today I woke up around 2 p.m. I was sleeping. Didn't wake up at any point before that hour. I don't sleepwalk. I said that because if I did, someone would have picked up on it already. And as the stories progress, it will make sense that it wasn't sleepwalking. My mom was sitting in the room next to the living room, the third room of the apartment, basically. Then she saw me in the kitchen, passing to the living room. She was alone. My aunt was working, and my brother was out, positive. She thought it was me going to the living room window to see outside. Then she followed me, and there was nothing in the living room. She went to the room I was sleeping in, and I was still there, eyes closed, same position. So if it was sleepwalking, I'd have to literally run back to the room and lay back on the bed. A bunk bed, I think that's how it's called. 30 minutes passed. I woke up and went to the kitchen. My mom saw me again and waved at me. Later, she told me she did that to see if she was imagining things again or if it was really me. I waved back and she smiled. That's it. Only now she came to me and asked, "Were you dreaming about walking around the house or something like that?" I answered no, and she explained the situation. A few months ago, or maybe a year already, same thing happened to my aunt. Excuse me. She was in the third room working, since we don't have an office, and she saw me in the kitchen while I was sleeping. At least this time, my brother was also home, but she was sure it was me. He's older, taller, and lighter skin. But she mostly ignored it because it could have been my brother. Same thing as my mother. Later that day, she came to me and asked, "Why didn't you answer me when I called you?" And I said that I was sleeping. For a moment, 2 or 3 years ago, I had this weird feeling that someone else was living here. I couldn't shake it. There was this bed in the third room, no longer there. And it always felt like someone, excuse me, was hiding underneath it. For a while, it was. I was sure it was, but obviously, whenever I looked, no one was there. I felt like food was being used up faster, and things were going missing. But this feeling went away after a while. Just to be sure, I thought about those people that get into people's apartments and live in secret, but this is impossible here in Brazil. Not sure about that, but okay. At least in the apartment we live in. I can't explain, but there's no entrance or place to hide, like at all. That's it. No weird things besides that, I guess. Important things to note. My family is spiritual, if it matters. Neither my mother or aunt felt afraid even after they knew I was sleeping. If you believe in the spiritual world, my mother basically says that it's impossible for evil spirits to come uh, into the apartment as it is protected. I guess I'm just looking for suggestions, and that's where that one ends. The first two experiences that they relayed, they do sound like it could have been out of body astral projection. With the family seeing the writer there walking around the apartment while he was sleeping. I can imagine that. It's not to say that that's the only possibility, but it does seem like it is a good one there. The other stuff is stranger. The sense of someone being in the room, that third room, when there was no one there. The I don't know how that worked with the food going away faster. If, and I mean, I wonder if they could be mistaken about that. And there was just a time when, for whatever reason, the family was going through more food. I do think that can happen. I know there are times where I go through more than I should, but then that feeling went away of there being someone in that room. So I'm not really sure how to explain that one or to categorize that one. Almost seems like maybe some kind of alternate parallel universe crossover, maybe for a brief time, possibly, or time anomaly. But it's really hard to say with just what we have here, and that's not anything against the writer or what they posted. It's just it's hard to know. But yeah, so that's a wild one there. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised with the first couple of things if it was more out of body experiences that the person was having without maybe realizing it at the time. So I've heard that that people have said I've heard that it said that we go out of body all the time and we don't always notice it. So I don't know how I feel about that, but that is something I've heard said a lot. Moving on to the next one here. Thank you all for being here and listening in. This next one, scroll down a little bit. There we go. This next one says, I wanted to tell you something that happened to me and know what you all think. I was in my cubicle at school working. I listened to music. I was relaxed and very calm. I had been focused on my business for a while when I decided to go for a walk to stretch my legs. When I was outside reading the news on the wall newspaper, a colleague yelled at me and called me. I noticed a mix of shock and fear in his voice. He asked me how I got there, since, according to what he told me, a few seconds ago, he had greeted me outside in the parking lot. I told him that it was not possible, that he must have been confused, but he insisted that he was not. He had greeted me and that he had the same clothes, in quotation marks there, and that, again, he was sure that this other me, in quotation marks, had spoken to him. At that moment, he showed me goosebumps and told me, look how I got goosebumps because of what just happened. I asked him if it was the first time something like this had happened to him, and he answered no, that it had happened before, although it was the first time it had happened to someone from the university. He told me that he is very sensitive and that he is very attracted to topics related to esotericism, mysticism, if I could talk, the paranormal, and that type of thing. He also told me not to be scared, that he felt I had a really cool vibe, in quotation marks, what do you think happened? I would very much like to read your comments, and that's to post them online. So that's fascinating. I've read and heard a lot of accounts like that before. Um, so it doesn't surprise me so much in a way. Like I said, you do enough of these shows, you start seeing the same thing just with different details over and over. And this is one of those things that I've seen accounts about. Excuse me. Um, just just the way that people are sure they saw a person, and so yeah, really amazing. But let's see here. Thank you all for being here, and I see you all in the chat there. And let me get on to the next one here. Once I find my spot again. And let's see here. This one says, so basically, I have a memory where when I must have been about 8 or 10 years old. I'm 28 now. That pops into my head every now and again, which I have no explanation for. And I truly believe it wasn't a dream. I remember one school night I was sleeping, and I woke up in the middle of the night to something with a dark body and a bright face looking at itself in my mirror. Eventually, it noticed me and it sent a huge shadow person to watch over me for the rest of the night. I even remember hearing my dad get ready for work while they were still there. I was petrified, so obviously didn't sleep. And I remember when my room got brighter from the sunrise behind the curtains, they went, but the room didn't feel empty. I spent the remaining time not moving in bed until it was time to get up. This seems very far fetched, I know, but I remember so vividly me being awake all night and my alarm going off when I was already awake and being tired all day at school. And that's where that one ends. And that's a lot to see in one night. Um, the idea of I wonder, did that dark figure with the bright face, did it just summon a shadow figure? Was that shadow figure a separate being? Was it part of the same being? Um, I know that the person was terrified as a kid, but was it meant to be negative or terrifying? I don't know, but I do believe, based on what they were talking about there, they heard their father getting up and getting ready for work. They were awake when their alarm went off. It seems like they were awake, so which is really wild that they had that experience. And I think that might be the first time I've ever heard of or read an account of someone seeing something that then summoned or generated or something like that, brought another figure into being somehow. That's really fascinating, that aspect of it. But as to what that was, I don't know. And again, you have mirrors. This thing that pops up every so often in these accounts, where are they portals? Can they be at different times? I think they can, and not that it's happening all the time, but maybe in rare cases they can be. So, really fascinating account there of an experience. And I'm just glad that I don't really have any mirrors to speak of, except for the one in my bathroom medicine cabinet. So, let's see here. Moving on to this next one, it says, my 102-year-old grandma was in Rhode Island with my uncle. My mom and I were in Indianapolis in the ICU with my 37-year-old middle sister. When she passed away, the only people who knew in the first several hours were her boyfriend, who was there with us, and my other eldest sister, who was in California. We agreed to wait until the next day to tell my grandma and uncle. My uncle called my eldest sister very soon after my middle sister died because my grandmother insisted, since she sensed, for lack of a better word, that my middle sister died. There is absolutely no way anyone informed my uncle and or grandmother. How? And that's where that one ends. And I think they answered their question there themselves. She sensed it. Um, this happens. I've read so many accounts of this, similar things, where people just know. They get a sense. Either they get a sense, or the spirit of the individual that's passing or has passed visits them, or maybe it's both. I'm not sure, but um, or one causes the other. But but yeah, that's I've found many accounts like that. So it's unfortunate that that happened, but doesn't surprise me that the grandmother knew. Also, 102. That's getting up there. Um, maybe that's also part of. I mean, I'm wondering about the health of the grandmother at the time. Hopefully, she was healthy, but being that far along, maybe there was some sensitivity that was gained because of that. This next one says, this happened years ago, but it was such a strange experience and has really stuck with me. I have tried to come up with possible explanations to no avail. I was staying at my mom's house, watching TV late at night in the main room of the house. There's a sliding door to the backyard in the room, and as I was sitting on the couch, I noticed a light moving around in the backyard. It looked like if someone were walking around holding a flashlight, except my mom was asleep and no one else was home. The yard is fenced in, and I would have heard the gates opening and closing, since they are old and wooden and heavy, and the dogs would have been going crazy if someone had come in or come into the yard and run out through the dog door to bark at whoever it was. But they were sleeping away. Thinking someone was in the backyard anyway, I got up to get a better look, but all I could see was the light, no body behind it. It bobbed across the yard a little more, and then went out. At the exact second the disembodied light in the backyard went out, the ceiling lights in the dining room at the front of the house went on. The switch had been flipped up in order for them to turn on. I could see into the dining room from the back family room because of the open floor plan, so I could see clearly that nobody was there. I double checked the front door to make sure it was locked and that someone didn't trespass just to mess with me, and thankfully it was. But now I have no logical explanation as to what I had just experienced. So it's been filed away as paranormal all this time. What else could it have been? That one is amazing because I feel like I don't hear too many similar accounts like that where you have a sighting of something anomalous um, in one area, a light, basically energy, and then you have it fades. So when it faded, did it travel through the house? Is that what caused the light to turn on? Did it pass through the switch plate, the outlet, the wiring somehow, and it had enough energy to turn the lights on? I don't know, but the timing there is really wild, and I'd be very surprised if those two things were not connected somehow. Not impossible for them to be separate, but still really amazing that they happened one right after the other like that. And there's so many accounts of lights coming in and out of electronics and TVs and things as well. So that does not surprise me much to hear an account like that. It's just surprising that it actually happened so quick after the first sighting or the main sighting, and then you had the lights turn on with the switch actually being flipped. So sometimes you hear about lights being activated, but sometimes they're on or they flicker on and off without the switch being turned on or off. But this time you have the actual switch being manipulated somehow. So that's really fascinating that happened like that. Let's see here. Moving on to the next one here. Let me see. This one says, "Hello, sorry for my mistakes. English is not my mother language. Uh, I've encountered a tall, slender woman dressed in bright white with long black hair twice now. I didn't feel fear because of this. The first time was in college, in a hallway. The hallway is L-shaped, and since I was sitting near the stairs, no one could enter or leave that floor without me noticing. At one end of the L were the bathrooms, and at the other, the stairs. Keep in mind that this was the top floor, so almost no one went there, even during the day. And I saw her reflected in a glass window as she passed by. The minutes passed, and she never appeared again. I decided to go to the restrooms to see if she was there. And no, the men's and women's restrooms were completely empty. The second encounter was last year. My mom had asked me to go to the store to pick up something. When I entered the apartment, I saw that woman walking from my mom's room to my brother's room. I peeked into my mom's room, and my mom was laying down. My brother wasn't in the room. I asked my mom if she saw someone pass by, and she said no. Do you know what these encounters mean? And that's where that one ends. Of course, my answer to that is no, I do not. But that is fascinating that this person had these two encounters in completely different locations. I'm wondering if it has something to do with a relative, um, sort of keeping an eye on them, maybe showing themselves to the writer there for some reason. um, because it is odd that it happened in two completely different locations. So, but but yeah, so it looks like we have a caller. So let me click on the thing here and make sure we do this. Get this right. There we go. And who could this be? I wonder. I don't know. Mike? Is it Mike? Is that the name, Mike? You got it right.
Oh, Hallows Eve. What's up, James? Happy Halloween. Happy 5th anniversary of Salsidoparanormal. What's up, guys?
Thank you.
It's been a hell of a week for me, but I made it. I'm
Yeah,
glad to dip in here and listen to you doing your thing. Fantastic stuff as always, man.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I had it's funny, two things. I know 'cause I know you weren't here at the very beginning. Remember that story that I summarized last night on your show about the baby saying that she was seeing the grandfather and the two cats
Yeah.
in the doorway of the bedroom? That was the first story that was up to be read for tonight, and I did not plan that.
Oh, nice. Another. We got the sync storm continuing into the next day. Nice.
So yeah, so for anyone that hasn't listened to the most recent, as of now, Trouble Minds episode, go check that out because that was a whole set of synchronicities there.
Yeah,
So
it is. It's a strange thing how when we get together and just talk, and without even knowing it, like we've said this before, but just these things kind of start to stack. And like I said, last night wasn't planned whatsoever. Like you don't, you can't really plan callers. We were, James and I were trying to plan this week to me to be here tonight, but it's been a disaster for me all week long. So I was like, I'm not even sure I can make it, man. But here I am. But my point is that this wild thing that it just continues to happen when we talk to each other, sort of in this weird, open-minded way that we do, with all possibilities on the table, and it's almost as if that's the thing that's kind of leaking in the synchronicity storm. It's so wild.
it is, and yeah, it's been a week on my end as well. And another thing, it's funny because I mentioned in the show last night that we were talking about energy, and I mentioned that when I get nervous or upset for whatever reason, after the fact, I end up getting a stomach ache and upset stomach. And tonight, just before the show, boom, it hit.
Here
So
it
I had
comes.
to, you know,
That's
go and deal with that. And it's like, no, the show is not being canceled. I'm not. That's not happening. So glad to be here as well.
100%. Don't let me get in the way. Carry on, unless you want to use me as a punching bag. That's what I'm here for.
And no, no. It's been like we both had a week, so I think we can avoid any fighting for now.
Fair
So,
enough.
but yeah, so I'll keep on reading, and then you know, you're welcome to chime in whenever you want to after each one of these.
Thank you.
So, and everyone, that is indeed the Michael Strange that I mentioned at the beginning of my shows. Um, with his own show, if I could talk, Trouble Minds, and yeah, so please check that out. So
Should
going
I,
on here,
should I
sorry,
introduce myself real quick?
yeah, you could do that.
Hi, I'm Mike. I'm a Pisces. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead, James.
I had
Just,
a feeling.
yeah, go ahead. I'm
Uh,
just kidding.
Hi, Mike. Okay,
Exactly.
so let's see. All right, this one. I need to scroll down a little more. Okay, and that was too fast. Gotta love reading and talking and all that at the same time. Um, this one says, I work as a long haul driver between Vancouver and Kamloops. It's in Canada. I'm aware of that. Most night shifts. I'm used to empty roads and the occasional deer crossing, but there's a stretch near Merritt that always makes me uneasy. One winter night, driving through a dead signal zone, I saw faint red lights up ahead, like hazard lights from another truck pulled over. I slowed down, just in case, but as I got closer, the lights suddenly went out. I figured the driver must have left, though I never saw another vehicle. I passed the spot, and right as the GPS signal dropped to zero, I felt a light bump on the back of the trailer, like someone had touched it. I stopped, got out with my flashlight, and checked everything. No animals, no branches, no damage. Nothing. When I climbed back into the vehicle, in the cab, and checked my mirrors before pulling out, I saw a figure standing still behind the trailer. It didn't move, just stood there. I turned on my high beams. Gone. Completely empty road. Ever since that night, Every time I drive that stretch, my truck's distance sensors randomly beep like something's passing behind me. Nobody believes me, but I swear there's something on that curve that doesn't like being alone. And that's where that one ends. And that's fascinating because you have sensors going off. You have a figure seen in a mirror, but then gone as soon as the lights are turned on. And you have someone that's driving for distances. There's so many accounts of people in that kind of position, whether driving trucks or just driving, who have encounters on roads. And but that's fascinating. The GPS and then the distance sensors going off, like there's someone there. To me, is always amazing. The interaction between the paranormal and technology is always fascinating to me.
Yeah, not just that. Real quick, let me get in here because,
Hmm.
as many of you know, I'm a truck driver, or I've got a commercial license. I spent some time doing some of that. Not really the long haul stuff. It was like 16-hour days, and it was miserable. But I would actually drive in this one spot up near Mount Shasta, and it was what I had kind of writing an old book that's still coming, still kind of the inferno's burning of what that book will be. But the beginning sequence I knew would happen sort of on this stretch of highway in a truck. And we had the opportunity when I was first training, driving up there, and I was telling the guy who was training me when we were driving doing the haul, and we were getting a crystal geyser water up beyond Mount Shasta. There's a little town called Weed, California. And on the way through there, I was telling him the story of how the thing starts, right? And it was like with the truck malfunctioning with the electronics, right? Because there's some
Mm.
interference from the Mount Shasta bit, and there's like some not to spoil it or plug too much a thing that doesn't exist yet, but there's a it starts kind of like that. And so as we're doing it, like he's all, oh yeah, and then so we get to the part, he's all right around here. I'm like, yeah, this is kind of about the spot I had in mind, and he starts flickering the lights in the truck, right? Like in and out. It's like it starts shutting down, and then he like puts it in neutral and kind of slows down and starts to peel off to the right. He's all kind of like this. It's like, oh crap. Here we go. Here we go. Hyper reality setting in right in the moment. But yeah, it's an interesting thing to be in those desolate places where you kind of feel that energy, whatever that is, like almost as if something's watching. And nothing better than Mount Shasta, that sort of modern day liminal space as it's been talked about for again centuries at this point with the natives. But it's an interesting thing that being a truck driver, it's like the last vestige of a cowboy. You hop in the thing, the truck is your horse, and you just go out on the open road, and there's all manner of things between here and there. It's pretty wild stuff.
Yeah, and it really is similar to the Old West, but now your vehicle has energy all around you and devices that can pick up on things that it's maybe not supposed to even pick up on. And yeah, it's I mean the thing with like I've been listening, as some of you listeners know, I've been listening to a lot of shows, podcasts on paranormal things over the years, and drivers out there they encounter all kinds of things here and there, like I mean ghost apparitions, cryptids or creatures, this kind of electronic interference, all manner of things have been reported by people that are out there, again, in the middle of nowhere, and or at the very least just alone. There's no one around them, and so it is definitely a pattern that has developed from what I've seen.
Yeah, seems to be. Don't get caught out alone in a truck. You never know what might happen. And there might be books written about it coming soon.
Could be. Looking forward to that whenever it happens. So, but
Yeah, there's a release date. It's sometime around 2050. So I'll let you know.
oh yeah, that's right around the corner. It's fine. I'm sure
Put it on your calendar.
just like 1980, 1990. That was like just 20 years ago. No, that's
Yeah,
so.
we're old James. We're old James.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, all right. Well, moving on to this next one here. It says, so this is my first time seeing something like this. It was roughly about a week ago. The sun had just set, and I just got out of the deer stand. I had my headlamp on, scanning the forest as I walked back to my house, and I saw two whitish glowing eyes, about 8 feet tall, looking at me as I walked out of the forest. I was slightly spooked and startled because I wasn't expecting it, but I said some things, and as in four-letter words, and walked out of the forest. A couple of nights ago, it was around the same time, and I didn't see anything like it again. Has anybody seen something like this before? Or if so, do you know what it is? Maybe some information about these watching eyes? And that's where that one ends. There's so many reports of people in forests. Hunters, that's a whole phenomenon as well. Um, Seeing things out in woods and forests. A lot of cryptids, really, a lot of creatures. Um, and sometimes all you see is lights or eyes glowing out there somewhere. So that's always fascinating.
100. I'm not a big hunter, so I don't have a lot on that. Other than the the forest at night definitely has eyes. That's a fact.
Yeah, I mean, even just regular animals moving around can startle you if you're not expecting it, and you're just sitting there listening or whatever nearby, and all of a sudden there's a bump or a crash. And it's like, wait, what was? Oh, never mind. That was in the forest. But yeah, um, let's see here. Move on to the next one here. This one says, my friend and I stopped by my brother's house to pick up a few things as I was moving. We got there at 10 p.m. as my friend didn't get off work until a bit after 7 p.m., and it was a bit over a 2-hour drive to my brother's place from the place I just moved to. My brother's house is in the woods. Here we go again. And I had lived there for almost a decade before moving. It was originally my grandparents' uh, home before they passed. At one point, while my friend and I were outside, after carrying the last of my things out of the house, we thought we heard whistling, and then shortly thereafter we heard people screaming. And I mean blood curdling sounds like they were going insane screaming. We couldn't see anyone around the area, and it sounded like a group of people. My friend and I freaked out, ran into her car, and took off. I texted my brother the next day and asked if he had heard anything. He was inside the house at the time, and he said no. I honestly don't know what to make of this. I've never heard anything like that in the nearly 10 years I lived there. And these woods aren't exactly a known hangout for people. It's mostly private property and has a good amount of cliffs and steep hills, so not super safe. Maybe it was real. Maybe my friend and I just had a shared hallucination due to being tired. I honestly have no clue. And that's where that one ends. I've never been a huge fan of that shared hallucination idea. Um, I've always heard that it's not super common for people to have the same one at the same time. So I don't know about that. I'm not saying it's impossible, um, but that is freaky. Uh, just hearing people screaming sounds almost reminds me of Lovecraft, like something from Lovecraft, some being out there, and some energies or some spirits like attached to it or something, or drawn to it, and then just the screaming that happens after that. I don't know. Really freaky there that to have those two forest stories the same one right after the other like that as well.
Yeah, the shared hallucination part is to me like there's I think there's legs there. It's difficult to kind of quantify yet because I think science is going to kind of catch up to this in the next 10, 20, 30 years. But when it comes to mass psychosis and things like this, like we are certainly prone to these types of things. So
Hmm.
hearing that type of thing doesn't surprise me. And I'm sure you've heard of like the ayahuasca trips they do. And Alex Jones has
Yeah.
talked about this at length as well, where they all take it. They go into this tent somewhere in South America or Central America or something, and they all share the dream. And so it's not really a dream state, but it's a shared hallucination. So not just again, I know this isn't really your bag on this show typically, but I think the mind space of the shared hallucination is fascinating for a lot of reasons. Whether it's chemical, whether it's trauma, whether it's mass media, MK Ultra for the masses that I'm always talking about. I think there's a lot of precedent there that makes some sense that it really strikes to the heart of what the paranormal is as a definition.
That's I wasn't aware that they claim to have the sort of the same experience in those ayahuasca situations there. So that does make more sense in a way than that it could have been. But that is also really random for these two people to have this happen, unless it was because they were tired. Um, but yeah, still wild to hear that. And it reminds me of one of my first experiences I had. One of the few I ever had when I was when I used to go to summer camp when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I liked being outside. I don't know what was going on with that, but I did. And
Bad James.
right, crazy, just insane. Who does that? I mean, I am kidding for those of you that do love the outdoors, because I know there are many out there. But I'm not one of those now. But back when I went to summer camp every year when I was a kid, every summer, um, there was this one night where it was dark out and everyone had lain down, and I think most of the people in the cabin were asleep. If there was anyone else awake, they never moved or said anything when this happened. But I was laying there and I heard voices coming from the nearest uh, campfire site, and they were all speaking and almost shouting, chanting as one. Perfect timing. Did not recognize any of the voices. Could not tell what they were saying even, which is really weird. And it just kept on going for a few minutes, and then the intensity rose, and then all of a sudden it stopped. And I was waiting for someone else in the cabin to wake up or say something. And of course, no one did, so I had to just lay there and eventually fall asleep. But I still don't know what that was.
I know what it was. it was it was a bacchanalia forest orgy by the some sort of ancient ritual that was manifest, and the only one that could hear it was you because you were affected by the energy. Obviously, I mean,
Yeah, could be. Enough other weird stuff happens around me wouldn't surprise me at all. So, but yeah, and I agree, Sweets. It is okay to be an indoor cat. So, and because yeah, the running joke with that is I think I'm one third cat and one third vampire and one third person. So, but yeah, I'm pretty sure about that at this point, based on my characteristics and everything. Makes sense. So,
where do we get
moving.
the one third weirdo
Sorry.
in there? There's a one third weirdo you left out. What are we gonna do?
That's okay. We'll assign that. Well, that's hard though, because weirdo could be applied to the cat or the person.
Okay, all right.
So
Just curious about where that fit into the pie, but we'll deal with that later.
it's 2/3 weirdo somewhere in the middle of all that. So 2/3 weirdo. Never mind that makes 5/3. This is not a math show, so we won't worry about that. But
Advanced
yeah.
mathematics, James. 5/3 is a thing.
So but moving on to this next one here. This one says, sometimes I wonder if this was me hallucinating, but some things don't check out for it to be that. When I was about 6, I got pretty sick. Not sick enough to spend time in the hospital, but high fever sick. The night my fever got the highest, I remember going to bed, obviously not feeling good. I eventually passed out after my concoction of meds had kicked in. At some point in the night, I was awoken by what looked like a hospital desk with two receptionists. standing behind the desks, and a woman standing in front with her back to me, looking at what looked like this hospital check-in desk. I was completely confused because what the heck? Everything is dark in my room, but this area. The woman turned around and walked to my bed and sat to the side of me on my bed. She was wearing a black bandana and what looked like, to me at the time, a black biker jacket. And she simply told me everything is going to be okay, with a smile on her face. She got up, walked away, and then everything disappeared. Once everything disappeared, I went and woke my mother up and explained what I saw. She asked me to explain what this woman looked like. Confused, she said it sounded like I was describing a woman she had been friends with that had died just hours before I was born. Her name was Kay, and of course I don't include full names in these shows for privacy reasons. She had cancer, lost her hair due to chemo, and always wore a black bandana and her favorite jacket, a black leather jacket. Like I said, unfortunately, Kay died hours before I was born. She was at the time of my mother's pregnancy with me, my mother's best friend, and she desperately couldn't wait to meet me. But that happened. I'm 32 years old now, and I still think about this experience. Some people almost act like they don't believe me when I tell them about this experience, which I get, but I know what I saw. Like I said, sometimes I wonder if I was hallucinating, but being able to describe this woman and what she was wearing, matching the description of a woman who died before I was born, doesn't make me think that. What are your thoughts? And that's where that one ends. And that to me is fascinating because, again, it seems like it's possible it was some kind of communication between the consciousness of this woman that had passed and this, at the time, child when they were sick. And in a very comforting way as well. So, um, just looking at the chat here. Hello, Derek. I see you in the chat. And hello, everyone. Just a reminder, too, this is a call-in show. So if anyone does want to call in, you're welcome to. No worries if you can't. But it is open lines for that, which is why we have Michael Strange here lurking in the background.
If you don't call, you're stuck with me. Happy Samhain.
So, but yeah, if you have any thoughts on that one, Mike, but if not, it's okay.
Yeah, so that's actually fits into what I've talked about a lot. What we've talked about a lot together is that human resonant energy. I do wonder, and you told a fantastic personal experience that kind of fit with this precisely. Is that so? It's not necessarily, in my opinion, the paranormal is that it's energy per se, maybe partially, but then I think the other part of it is telling stories. Is sort of, maybe you heard this or the individual in the account there heard something when they were young about a something, you know what I mean, about an entity in this place or this thing or whatever that kind of stuck in your in the recesses of your memory and never really kind of came out. And then for whatever reason, the energy that manifested as like an old memory of a tale that somebody told you, like a grandparent or something, right? And I think we have, as I like to say, it's complicated, but I think we have technologically a whole lot going on when it comes to that human resonant energy, because the storytelling certainly seems to shape that energy, whatever that looks like. And when those ideas come together, it seems like we have these recurring manifestations. And so, like I said, if you want to call that ghosts, you want to call that whatever you want to call that. There's so many ways to define these things. But I think that storytelling aspect of it, of just sort of family folklore, that other people may not have heard or know anything about, I think it has a way of sort of manifesting in the present and the future based on sort of our subconscious, very Carl Jung-esque, like I like to talk about. But it feels to me like there's something happening in that space where it's not just campfire stories and it's not just energy. I think it's how this, let's call it technology kind of comes together.
Yeah, it could be, and it could be also that the writer there, when they were a child, they picked up on just the whole hospital, the whole medical um, industry, like the whole medical situation of the individual, or at least that they were in the hospital, and that's what they saw somehow, along with the apparition, or however you want to call that. Again, labels are useful, but also not the best. But along with that apparition of the mother's friend, they didn't just see the friend; they saw the hospital desk, which makes me wonder. And this is again going even more deeper into the paranormal. Is Was this child at the time um, possibly close to death, close to dying, unfortunately, and this friend was there to tell them, or even to sort of help them get back to health and tell them it's okay, and sort of keep them in the land of the living with by being there. And maybe that desk with the receptionist was some kind of representation of possibly going to the other side.
Yeah, there's a lot of symbolism there. A lot of that, the Beetlejuice, the stuff we've talked about at length, the subway kind of feeling, the liminal space. There's so much there that I think, like I said, this will turn into science eventually. Mark my words on that. However, that kind of shakes out is going to be probably tumultuous because science doesn't like sharing, with metaphysics and these things, the human soul and these ideas of, as I like to describe it, human resonant energy. But you get my point. I think we're going to be able to figure some of this out. All of it, maybe never, but I think to some point we'll be able to see some of it, and it's going to fit into that space of us passing on sort of that ancestral energy to each other. And it's a wild time to be alive, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And we yeah, so I don't know. It's the whole medical facility. That's a whole other topic as well. Just the paranormal activity that goes on in and around medical facilities as well. So that's the first time though I've ever heard of someone sort of having a paranormal experience away from a medical facility, but then having still that sort of setting appear as whatever was going on with them in their own space near them. So that's fascinating. And again, that could be sort of for anyone out there that has not watched Beetlejuice, I recommend it. Even if you're not a huge fan of sort of the style or the comedy, some of the concepts in that movie, if you just stop and think about them and take them one at a time, I think are fascinating as well. So just a recommendation there. And of course, even though that the second one to me was not quite as good as the first one, I'd still recommend the second one, just because same situation. There are some fascinating concepts in there as well. So a couple of movie recommendations for you all, um, for anyone that hasn't watched those movies yet. Of course, then I may have to ban anyone that hasn't done that yet. So
I
you
was
might
going to
not
say, hold on,
not
hold
want
on,
to
hold on.
yeah.
I want to clarify that if you haven't seen Beetlejuice in 2025, it does not make you a communist. Okay, just want to clarify. I was
Well,
communist for not seeing it.
no, I never said anyone was a communist. I just said I can't believe you never watched it. That's just messed up, you know.
Not by you.
But
Somebody we know.
oh,
It was a funny moment.
oh,
He was mostly joking, but he's like, "What are you, some kind of communist?" oof, oof.
okay. That is a oof. Yes, that is for sure. That's it's funny. We've all had so many conversations. I totally forgot about that little detail. But no, I am joking about the banning because that wouldn't be nice. That'd be like banning someone for the food they like pineapple on pizza. that kind of thing.
Ooh,
Can't do that.
that might be worthy though. Come on now. Hey, come on. We gotta draw our line somewhere, James.
Well, I would accept that the individual in question has been a huge help to the show. Many shows, friends of ours, and our own shows. So,
Off
um,
with their heads,
I
James. Off with their heads.
well, sorry, sweets, you're good. No, I'm kidding. But but yeah. So everyone, thank you for being here. I have at least one more story here. We'll see if we want to go on after that. But uh, but yeah, let me see here. Looking at the chat here. Uh, Don says, but pineapple. Yeah, I don't know. It's fine on pizza, I guess. Maybe as long as it's not my pizza. That's my line that I draw. But let's get to at least one more of these stories here, and I think we could do another half dozen after that. I'm feeling up to it tonight now. It's good to be here, so that helps. Um, this says, okay, so this is going to sound insane, but I need to get this out somewhere because my wife thinks I'm losing it. We moved into this house about 4 months ago. Nothing fancy, built in the 70s, kind of outdated, but the price was right. Our son is 3 and just started talking in full sentences recently. About a month after we moved in, he started this thing where he'd stand in the hallway outside his room and just talk. At first we thought imaginary friend, whatever, kids do that. But he'd always face the same spot on the wall, always. This one section between his room and the bathroom. My wife asked him once who he was talking to, and he said, the man in the wall. My wife laughed it off. I did too. But then, about 2 weeks ago, I was up at 2 a.m. getting water, and I heard it. This low hum. Not like electrical, more like someone humming a tune. I stood in that exact hallway spot, and it got louder. I put my ear to the wall, and I swear, it sounded like it was coming from inside the drywall. I checked the attic. Nothing. Checked for pipes. Nothing runs through that wall. Yesterday, my son told my wife, the man says Daddy hears him now too. We never told him I heard anything. I don't know what to do here. I'm not superstitious or anything, but the whole thing is freaking me out a little. My wife wants to get the wall checked, but I'm worried what we'll find, or won't find. Has anyone experienced something like this? I'm trying to convince myself there's a logical explanation, but I'm running out of ideas. And that's where that one ends. It's quite the situation. You have a man on the wall, according to the child, and the man on the wall told the child that the father heard him too, when the child had no idea. Um, that is a wild one. It reminds me a little bit of Stranger Things, the idea of these other dimensions on the other sides of walls. I don't know if you thought about that as well, Mike.
Yeah, not that particular thing came to mind, but it does play the upside down chandelier, as you know very well. There's like that, sort of the space behind the place we live where it's inverted, and it's the dark side. What's that? Tales from the Dark Side, that old '80s series. Tune into a Comet on Saturday morning, which I'm going to tomorrow morning because it's those
Nice.
reruns are fire. But yeah, I mean, I think the most bizarre part of that to me is the fact that it was a message passed on as if, yes, you hear me, but also I've been in contact with Dad, right? Kind of that whole thing. And I wonder, right, back to the idea of the Ouija board, the spirit board, this type of stuff, and actually having contact if it's honest, right? Like maybe it's
Yeah.
the disillusion of the family unit by some nefarious spirit force from beyond, right? And of course, I'm just starting a novel in my head here, but like you get the idea. It's an interesting thing because so in that case it corroborated. What if it didn't? You know what I mean? It kind of
Hmm.
leads to some intrigue going forward or whatever.
Yeah, and I'd be curious as the kid gets older, if things if they stop hearing that so much. That still doesn't explain how the father heard it, but it could be that the child there being sensitive somehow, um, I don't know, drew some energy to them or made it easier for everyone to pick up on whatever was already there. Maybe when they get older, it will calm down. Hopefully, um, at least it's not um, a negative experience or anyone is getting hurt. There are rare cases of that where the child or the family has things happen to them. Objects move, scratches, all those kind of terrible things. So at least it's not going that far, but it is tricky because you have to wonder. I mean, you don't know. There's no way to know if it's a positive or neutral or negative force until it does something besides just talking or making that sound. And it's why I always take the point of view of I'm happy observing whatever happens around me. I'm not ever, except for in rare circumstances, I don't ever try to have make more happen or ask for more to happen because you just never know what's going to happen. So, um, yeah, I see you there in the chat there, Derek. Sounds good. And but yeah, so I'll be ready whenever you're ready, Derek. Is fine. But yeah, so it really is fascinating. And if it wasn't for the confirmation, um, where the man says that Daddy heard him too, then you could go a lot of ways with that as well. Is it just the child picking up on energy? Is it them imagining things? A lot of directions with that, but then you have the verification, well, the secondary experience, and then the verification as well. That points at something more than just a child's imaginary friend.
Yeah, tons
So
tons of stuff swirling there. Which we've talked about egregores and all the rest of this stuff, the imaginary friend basis of this, and then how it fades. And then so I do wonder. It's an interesting part there too, where those ideas come together, where the child fades with the imaginary friend or whatever, the sounds through the wall, these types of things, the humming, all the rest. But then dad picks it up too. So I wonder, right? I wonder as we talk about Beyond the Veil, which is a fantastic night to talk about what's beyond the veil, as the veil is most thin. Sorry, I'll settle that down. But you get what I mean here. Like it's an interesting thing where it's not just, let's say, the childhood aspect of it, but then how that kind of not just transcends children grow out of it, maybe stop seeing the things as we've talked about quite a lot, and I know you have as well, that they're able to kind of punch through and maybe catch the attention of the people, the non-believers, whatever that looks like. And I don't mean believers or non-believers in a political or religious or whatever way. You know what I mean? Just maybe more
right,
open-minded people, sort of in a vacuum to describe that, I guess.
yeah. Let's get to one more of these here before, because by then it'll probably be almost time for another friend to be joining us. But this one says maybe there is a reasonable explanation, but this one definitely shook me, and not in a bad way. In the early 2000s, I was dating a man and became pregnant after only a few months. During this time, throughout my pregnancy, his mom was suffering from terminal cancer. She was dying. I wasn't working at the time, so I ended up spending a lot of time with her as a companion. I also managed her meds and took her to appointments. We spent a lot of time together while she was succumbing to cancer. I ended up giving birth 2 weeks before she died, and she was able to meet the baby, which I was so grateful for. She and I had really bonded before her death. Her son and I did not end up working out. We were young at the time when the baby was 6 weeks old. We split, and he moved out of state. The baby did not have a relationship with him or anyone on his side of the family. A few months after she passed, I had the most vivid dream I've ever had in my life, where she came to me, dressed in a beautiful green ball gown, for some reason, embraced me, and thanked me for everything. In the dream, she was much younger, in her late 30s. She died in her 70s. I can't even express how vivid this dream was. I have never before or since had an experience like that. I always kept an old photo of her that her son left at my house. She was young in this photo, late 30s, that sat in a frame hanging on my wall in my bedroom, kind of out of the way. I didn't think about the photo really at all. Life went on. Here was the paranormal part. I would also argue that the dream might have been paranormal as well, but back to reading here. When my baby was a toddler, one day he was with me in my room while I was rearranging things. I was taking down posters and frames from my wall, setting them down on the bed. As I'm walking around, I heard my son say, "Green Grandma." I was shocked. He had the photo, a picture, in his hands, a big smile on his face, and again said, "It's Green Grandma." I immediately flashed back to the dream I had after she died in that beautiful green ball gown. There is no reason I can think of he would say that when looking at this photo. He had no experience with any of that side of his family, and I had never talked to him about her. He was just a baby. I'm generally a uh, skeptic usually, but this was the one experience in my life that really made me question what I know as reality. Honestly, not sure what coincidence could have led to this at all. And that's where that one ends. And that one is another fascinating one. And there's so many of these accounts of as one life is unfortunately ending, and another is beginning. There being in some way this kind of contact, um, or and it's not described there. Of course, it was a baby, so the mother couldn't exactly do an interview. How exactly do you know this woman? Where did you see her? All these things. But it seems like he did somewhere, somehow. And I wonder if it was, again, maybe in his dreams, maybe not. It's really hard to know. But that one to me was fascinating.
Yeah, that one in particular. So, and I think there's that liminal. We talk about the liminal space, and again, it's a perfect night to reiterate that moment and when that kind of happens. But in that space of sort of the dream realm versus the paranormal versus the astral and sort of these things, it's interesting that some of the stuff is maybe those basic memories or most basic memories. And yeah, what there's a trope of this in Star Wars, right? If you guys are Star Wars fans, if not, don't worry, I'll be short on this. But there's Princess Leia was talking about memories of her mother, but just sort of images, really, like not really. Just knew she was kind and loving and very beautiful and right, kind of that thing anyway. Like so, you kind of can't know her in that space, but also in the same space, like she's the only thing you did know at some point. So, kind of knowing them inside and out, that back to that human resonant energy and recognizing it and then being able to carry on with it. It's a wild thing. Fantastic stuff as usual. You're on fire, James.
Well, it helps to have resources, and I would recommend everyone. There are these kinds of sites everywhere that have all these accounts, and they're. I say this all the time too. There's new posts every day about experiences. Every day, multiple posts a day, and so people are having experiences. Whether others out there want to sort of accept that or not, there's all these posts with all these claims of all these experiences,
Yeah, real quick.
and this is
Let me add to
yeah.
that
Sorry.
real fast. No, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
But that my initial point, my brain went four different ways, and I went the Star Wars way. I shouldn't have. But it's interesting that it ended with, I'm not really a woo woo person. I'm a rational person, and so these types of things, right? Like they don't sit well with me because you can't describe them. You can't. People think you're nuts when you talk about them, and that is probably the main basic thread here. With pretty much everything you do, everything I do, everything we do together, is people are like, hey, look, we're not crazy. There's something going on.
Yeah.
Just what is it, right?
Oh yeah. There's so many posts that, and just similar to that one, where they start off and or end by saying, I can't explain this, and I know I don't know what it was. I know I'm not crazy, but I don't know what it was. But here's the thing that happened, and that's what they say. So, but yeah, that's true. We find that over and over again. And looking at the chat here, also, um, you're welcome to join whenever you want to, Derek. But if you're busy with work, no worries. Just cut in whenever you want to.
Yep.
Oh, there we go. Hello.
Going
There's
on,
not
British.
laughter.
Now there's
Now there's two laughters in this. I don't know about this.
Yep.
Is weird.
Derek.
Oh, it's me, the caretaker. I'm back to give you another warning. What's going on, you guys? Happy Halloween, everyone.
You too.
Same to you all.
The chilly, windy night in New England right now. It didn't feel like Halloween at all today. But then walking to my car, just like the moon, it has this weird haze over the clouds, and it's just the clouds are really moving fast, and it just feels really windy and spooky. If I was a witch, it's great broomstick flying weather out there tonight.
Yeah, it's been really windy out here, in Michigan, for a good part of the day too. So, yep.
You got,
But
you
I
got,
don't have too much.
but
I mainly wanted to call in and just say Happy Halloween, that kind of stuff.
well, let me
If
put
you
the
want my take.
real quick then, because it's 80 degrees with a light breeze in Las Vegas today. So.
Oh, must be nice. Must be nice.
Sorry,
yeah,
Anyways,
really.
sorry guys,
is
somebody's living it up. Sorry, go ahead.
is is Vegas Halloween crazy? I never even thought about what it must be like on the strip.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's Halloween crazy. Like all day, I was seeing people dressed up everywhere. It was crazy. Like people working in construction and stuff. Like there's this one
Oh
dude
wow.
with like a yellow vest, and then right next to the guy in the yellow vest, they're out doing like street work or whatever. The guy dude was dressed like Luigi. He had like the blue
Oh
overalls, like the green, and he had the hat on with the L on it and everything. I was like, I got a picture to prove it.
wow.
I saw
Just
Luigi
buy
doing street work in Las Vegas.
we just buy a manhole, just like looking down the manhole, freaking out. My brother,
Exactly.
no, get him out. That's what. Is the sphere all lit up like a jack o' lantern or anything like that?
Yeah,
In Vegas?
yeah, it's been happening for like the last like 10 days, 2 weeks. They're adding the jack-o'-lantern and like spirits climbing up the side of it, like zombies and stuff. It's pretty wild. I haven't really
Wow.
been pressing that stuff forward because I've been so busy, but there's an X account that has all that stuff on it when they change the stuff. It's wild. It would blow your
That's
minds
awesome.
if you guys thought. I'll delve that out and I'll see if I can drop it in the chat here real quick because the stuff they do for Halloween, again, all those LEDs, millions of LEDs is wild.
Yeah, that's cool. My sister went to the Sphere a few months ago. She saw the Backstreet Boys, and then she said, "Oh, it was crazy, it was wild." But I can't imagine there was that much weird ritual Grateful Dead weirdness that some of the other shows had. But she said it was really awesome. Kind of a bad sign that my music or my childhood music is now entering the level of adults with disposable income to spend on the Sphere. You know. But yeah, I mean, I got
yeah.
a couple of thoughts on the story if you want to.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Nothing major, but for some reason, it didn't feel like it was the grandmother's ghost for some reason. And like, obviously, whatever feeling she has, it's much better than my feeling. I wasn't there. It's her story and that kind of stuff. But just it feels weird that like she cuts off that entire side of the family. This child that's just entered the world has no exposure to any side of the family, but then the one message that's given to her is like, "Oh, thank you so much," and it's just like I wonder, like back when you guys were talking about the power of the technology, like the story technology and that type of stuff. If like part of what we think are ghosts or what we think are spirits of our loved ones is kind of just the other side telling us stories because it's the only technology that they can kind of use. And in this case, it's like a story like the big bad wolf is telling Little Red Riding Hood when he's wearing her grandmother's clothes and stuff. It's that they can wear kind of our memories and then kind of peer into our whatever consciousness link is going on with the phenomena. They can kind of peer into our memories and kind of wear our memories as ways to, like, I don't know, I don't want to say fool us or trick us or whatever, but to make contact with us and stuff. So I mean, it could be, but that's the kind of things I got. Well, why would she show up in this unrecognizable form to give a message after seemingly a falling out happened with the family, apparently? But I just, what my instinct, just wanted to mention the story technology aspect of it.
Oh yeah, no worries. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. No one knows. I mean, unless you are the one having the experience and you get a sense or a feeling or whatever, no one really knows what's going on for sure with any of these things. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always possible. That goes back to what I said earlier. That's why I don't normally try to have experiences, and or whenever anything happens, I don't ask for more. Because it's just like, nah, I'm not taking any chances.
Yeah. As you mentioned,
So
Stranger Things with the wall, and that's where my mind went first. With like Will trapped on the wall and Winona Ryder trying to like get him out with the axe and stuff. She was like,
yeah,
if she was a little kid, or when Mike's little sister went over to the house to like visit him with Mike's mom, she was kind of like staring at the wall, and she was kind of like seeing the lights kind of flicker or whatever. And that's when Winona Ryder was like, "It's not just me. I'm not crazy. This little girl saw it too." So I wonder if kind of a similar. If you're a little kid, you don't know not necessarily what's going on. But it makes me think that like on Stranger Things still, Vecna, in order to make contact or kind of get the whatever desired effect that Vecna's trying to get or the entity's trying to get, you use, like, they peer into the mind, it's some kind of mind-to-mind contact, and then you use the thing. In Vecna's case, that's the most traumatic for the person. So in the one case is that kid who got in the car crash and he ran away. So it's in the form of the police officer who was at the car crash. I know it was you, type of thing. Some kind of guilt. But if you're also somebody who's just had a loved one die, or a close personal friend or a family member or whatever, then it's a different type of trauma. But it's like a homing beacon that an entity will immediately see when they peer into your mind, and they'll wear that as that it's got something to ingratiate themselves to you, so that you make contact with them. I'm like, I just, my goodness, things. But I do have a question for you guys, like an unrelated Halloweeny question, if you want.
yeah. Go ahead.
I don't think we'd ever talked about this before, but we talked about like childhood favorite movies and stuff. But what was like, I don't know what is the biggest, like, what's a scary childhood like pop culture thing for you guys? Like what scared you the most as like little kids? Like, what's like the thing that really freaked you out, like on TV or movies or whatever? Both of you. I can do
There
mine
was.
first.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Do you know Are You Afraid of the Dark on Nickelodeon?
Yeah, I vaguely
And
remember it. Yeah.
I mean, you're like slightly older than me, so you might be. It's like the main competitor for Goosebumps, and in my
Yeah.
mind, Goosebumps was kind of like the little more palatable for a kid. And Are You Afraid of the Dark, to me at least, was terrifying. But I recently went back to it, and I realized that it came out like when I was 2, so I thought it came out when I was like 7. So that's probably I was probably just way too young. But there's one episode where there was a haunted pool. Something spooky was going on in this like indoor pool of this school gym or whatever. And these kids, like, they heard the legends of it, and they like were swimming in the pool. 2 of them like after hours, and they were getting like tugged on their legs and stuff. So, like, we gotta like see what this thing is. So they pour these chemicals into this pool, and then this like monster that ended up looking almost exactly like Vecna. Speaking of Vecna,
Hmm.
like emerged from the pool, like covered in like corpsiness and red, not blood, but just like, I don't know, like a red skeleton covered in flesh, but a Nickelodeon child version of it. But to me, I just vividly remember watching that from like behind the couch as, I guess, like a 3-year-old, absolutely terrified. that kind of sticks out to me. So, do you have any like really young nightmarish things for you guys?
I have one. I don't remember what episode it was or what. I don't think I ever even watched the whole episode because it freaked me out. There was an episode of the Ghostbusters cartoon show
Oh wow.
that freaked me out, and it involves some kind of like almost like a sickness that started happening, like where people started getting spots on them, like the character, like the actual Ghostbusters, and something else about it. Though. I don't think it was just that, but I remember there was this one episode. I watched that show all the time as a kid, and never had a problem with it until that one episode. And I just turned it off that day when it started. Like I don't know why it freaked me out so much, like it did, but yeah, it was, and I don't know, what happened with that episode, but yeah, I remember that. I remember just turning it off. It's like, nope, not dealing with this today.
Yeah. How about you, Mike?
Ooh, my fractal mind is buzzing. There was a particular moment. It had to be, I can't remember exactly when, but it was after 1983 sometime because I was wearing a Return of the Jedi T-shirt that I recall. But long story short, I had a friend named Keenan that broke a window, and this is to set up the actual thing. It'll be short. He broke a window playing baseball with somebody that was not me. Like we played baseball a lot and stuff, but when he broke the window, I wasn't there. Have I told this story to you guys before?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. No.
This is deep, dark Michael Strange that goes back to like 1985 or whatever it was. And okay, so Keenan is my friend. He knew his dad knew this. The window broke. His dad asked him if he lied, if it was him, and he lied to him about it and said it wasn't him. And so back then, right? I'm a poor kid. We don't have like Atari 2600. We go to their house and stuff. Long story short, shut up, Mike. They had like HBO or whatever, and they were watching Poltergeist. So he called us in, and he's like, "Come in, guys." And so we're sitting there on the couch, and I don't even recognize it because it's foreign to me, but he's grilling his kid about the window being broken, but on TV at the same time as Poltergeist, right? And so his dad ends up literally finding out that he lied to him about it. And then he takes his belt off and he's whipping this kid's ass, like this 10-year-old kid's ass, right there on the couch next to me. Like I'm sitting 2 feet from this happening, right? But I don't want to watch. I'm horrified. But I also, the only other thing on is Poltergeist. And so this triple trauma for me in that old movie Poltergeist, when I see the Carol Ann stay away from the light and that whole bit, it's just like this really horrific thing. And I hope your childhood friends, you hope they turned out well and had great lives and all the things. I have no idea, but that moment was certainly traumatic for me, even though nobody laid a hand on me. But he did tell me on the way out. He said, "Mike, don't ever lie to me." it's like, get me the F out of here. I don't want to be anywhere near you guys. What in the world is going on? But Poltergeist was on, and it was one of those very, very high intense moments, not just in the movie, but also going on next to me. So it is interesting how we talk about trauma and stuff. And I was very young. I was maybe 10 or something like that. And so that in particular, like that movie just is burned into my brain as just one of the scariest things I've ever seen.
Wow. I've never actually seen Poltergeist before. I'm good.
No problem. Yeah, that is wild. We have a little possible weird synchronicity or paranormal thing here in the chat. Maybe not paranormal, but maybe synchronicity. Pete says, a couple minutes ago, I accidentally knocked over someone's Bass Pro Shop insulated travel mug or cup off their desk, and when I went to pick it up, I noticed a Bigfoot sticker on it that says, "I believe," on the back side.
Nice. Sasquatch think. Gotta love it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
I posted the picture of the pool monster too in the chat.
It definitely, I saw it. It definitely does look like Vecna. That is wild.
nightmarish on Nickelodeon too. And I feel like that like colored like every like Sunday evening. Like when people talk about the Sunday scaries or that weird, awkward like, um, especially like kind of summertime or rain or like the beginning of school feeling of summer, like before you go to school on Monday. That like gross, awkward feeling. I have that completely tied into like watching this show behind the couch, terrified. One late fall evening or whatever. Um, and then, do you ever see Jason Goes to Hell, Mike or James?
No.
You guys?
No,
Um,
I think I dipped out from the Jason series by then.
yeah, I've never seen any. I've never seen any of them, but I have another kind of like walking behind the couch memory that just popped in my head right now when you were talking about Poltergeist. And I'm not even sure if this is Jason Goes to Hell, but it was like up in my. We have this like summer camp thing or whatever we go up to as a kid, like my family, and like the neighbors had like a TV in their place, like with like and they could play movies and stuff, which was like really cool. Because we were camping, like nobody had a TV up there. So, but they were much older. They were like if I was 5, they were probably like 12. And I would like go and watch movies with them. They were like if they were 12, they were watching like 17-year-old movies or something like that. So they were kind of like terrifying for me. And most of the memories involve like kind of like seeing my first boobs and that type of stuff. But I have one memory of like uh, this person, not in the Jason mask, but like going over somebody on kind of like tied down in this operating table, but like in a what I think is like a living room, and then this like metal snake, or this so the person kind of going over the person. You see the person screaming, tied down, and then you see the person's face kind of leaning over them, and this metal snake coming out of the mouth and going into the other person's mouth. And for my entire life, I didn't know what that was. It was just a weird fear. And then I saw the cover of Jason Goes to Hell like relatively recently, and it has like the metal snake coming out. And I've never seen that movie, but I'm fairly certain that's what it is. But I have this core memory of this metal snake, terrifying metal snake thing. I don't know. I'm just thinking about nostalgia, Halloween nostalgia. Sorry for rambling.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I don't have anything. I don't even know where this came from, but I remember when I was a kid, I had this one dream that I was walking through this empty, abandoned town kind of area, and I don't know what I saw before this to make me think. I think it might have actually been inspired partly by Beetle. It was actually inspired partly by Beetlejuice. Funny enough, um, because I was going by and when I was going by this place that had a window, like a space for a window with a that would have a display on it. But there was no window. But there was this figure standing in the window, and it looked like my mom, which is weird. And but it looked like a mannequin, but she was like she was a zombie, like she was green, like different color.
Uh,
And I thought, well, that's I don't like that. And so I just kept on walking. But as I started walking by, of course, this whatever this was moved and stepped forward and came down out of the storefront. And I ran and eventually woke up. I think what inspired that is spoiler for older movie now. There's a part near actually in the part where the Maitlands, the couple, they are summoned from the ghostly realm to the physical realm uh, by ritual. They when they appear at first, they are like they're gross. They're kind of like decaying corpses, and before they return to their spirit form. And I think because the um, the the wife was wearing like a white dress, and in this dream I saw my mom like in a white nightgown, which I think she had. Um, Somehow those all that got mixed together, and I had this weird dream about that. So that was fun.
was it? I mean, looking gross, but as gross as you can make Gina Davis in 1988, which
Yeah,
is hard to do.
yeah.
Super
I
hard
was
to
watching
do.
that recently, and I was just that's kind of why I asked originally, James, is that how old were you when Beetlejuice came out? 'Cause, like I was watching it, and like when she pulled her head off and stuff to try to scare the family and stuff,
Yeah.
like I found like I'm just imagining like watching that with my little sister and having her freak out and stuff. Like she I'm scared of this Nickelodeon show, and she has a bunch of things that she was scared about watching like the Disney Channel original Halloween movies and stuff, the things that like you wouldn't be scared about. And then in the 80s, like their PG was like a harsh PG, like Ghostbusters and Beetlejuice. If you're 5 watching that, I could see that being kind of scary, but not for you. You didn't have
Yeah,
it.
I saw it first when I was a kid, uh, and it was there were parts that were kind of freaky. I don't know if I just didn't like I didn't pay attention to those parts as much or something, or I don't know why it didn't phase me more. Maybe it did, and that's what that dream was about. But so it came out in. So I was 7 when Beetlejuice came out. So, and I don't think I saw it right when it came out. I probably saw it a few years after that, like when it came out on TV or something.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's why too. I was like closer to not quite a teenager, but getting there. So maybe that's another reason why it didn't totally freak me out. But yeah, I'm not sure. I did not like those parts. I did not like sort of the gross parts. I never have liked anything like that. But the ghost aspect was just so fascinating that I couldn't stop watching it.
Yeah. And here you are now. Maybe
I
maybe it
am
just
now.
manifested in a different way. You became the paranormal expert of Double Nine instead. You know?
The paranormal expert. And just the not personal slant aside on the movie was Freddy Krueger was really scary in the 80s.
Oh
Really
yeah.
So that was the other one, sort of unrelated to an actual personal trauma. And isn't it interesting that those are the sort of the types of things that define your life, right? Like a scary moment that had nothing to do with the movie, but then you were watching the movie or saw the movie shortly thereafter, and so it's just wild the way the human mind works.
Yeah.
I forget where I heard it or what it was from, but the guy that came up with Freddy, um, it might have been the director of those movies. I'm not sure. I forget now. But I heard somewhere that he had a dream about a guy that was like chasing him. That is where part of where the inspiration for Freddy came from.
It is a good idea. Just taking the Michael Myers, Jason slasher boom, and then creating the ultimate twist where you can't hide from this guy. There is no hiding from him because you have to sleep. I've never actually seen any of those movies, but I think kind of the way like I hear people talking about him is that like towards the end he got like jokier and more like you kind of like more kind of like one-liners like
Yeah, yeah, he did.
you
He
know?
totally did. It
Yeah,
became more campy, and it was like, come on, bro, seriously? Like,
yeah.
we need the scariest guy ever is now campy in our dreams before he kills you. Stop it.
Yeah,
It's like Rodney Dangerfield just showed up.
yeah, exactly. It's a good way to kind of maybe like process the trauma. The ones who were terrified of it 15 years earlier grew up to make the campy version where you just insult them as a little one-liners. But did you ever watch it? I know you've read it, James. Did you ever see it? Did you ever watch the movies?
I saw part of the original, the original TV version, but I never really got into it because it was TV and it had like jump scares, and my ears are not good for jump scares, so I never actually saw the whole thing. But yeah, I read the
We're
book.
we're entering Pennywise season. Oh, and speaking of Robert England, who played Freddy, got his star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame today. Synchronistically on Halloween.
Of course, of course they did.
But
Which also was emblazoned in our dreams.
um, he plays he's the guy who got his eyes scratched out, like the older guy who was locked in the insane asylum in Stranger Things, the most recent season. It's kind of a little dream Freddy homage. But we're entering Pennywise season because the Welcome to Derry just premiered this week, and like people are loving the first episode. And I was gonna dive into it, but I heard it's like brutal, like gruesome. And, like I asked somebody on Facebook, like on a scale of like 1 to 10, with like Stranger Things, most recent Stranger Things maybe being like a 7 on like the gore meter. What is it? Like a hard 9. Like I'm not sure if I'll be able to watch it, but
Yeah, no.
I think I might be exploring the cosmic aspects of Pennywise, the Lovecraftian old one, like the what is it, the macroverse. Yeah, you know better than me.
Yeah, that's King. was definitely inspired to some degree by Lovecraft, with a lot of King's cosmic horrors that could then also appear like on a smaller human-sized scale. He definitely was. And he also King. Um, he he knows somewhat about like power spots or power locations because the town of Derry, and then also the town of Castle Rock in King's books, that's where a lot of his stories happened. Not all of them by far, but just so many, especially his earlier ones. They were in and around these two towns, um, and so yeah, I don't think I could watch that series either, but there's definitely plenty for the writers to work with, um, in either of those in Derry, and I mean I wouldn't be surprised if at some point they do like a Castle Rock thing
Yeah,
as well.
count me out too. Stupid question, real quick. Is it Derry or Darry?
Actually, it's Derry.
Oh, okay. I'm asking because I get gas downtown in Vegas at Costco. There's a dairy township down there that's like closed,
Oh,
like abandoned building, and I'm like, well, that's interesting. I wonder what that is. And I never even like considered anything about it other than, well, that's curious. And then you brought it up right now. I'm like, hmm, that's
Yeah, it's
weird.
weird.
That's weird.
I'm looking at. I got one sync for the Castle Rock thing, but I'm looking at the Macroverse right now. It popped up recently. Is like one like sci-fi YouTuber who like just like explains different like sci-fi books or whatever. Like I got into him when he was doing the Dune series, but he did for Halloween he did like Stephen King and It and the Macroverse and stuff. And it
hmm
was like he got into the Lovecraft thing, and I guess King like references Lovecraft specifically a bunch of times, and then Joe Hill, his son, like uses Lovecraft in Lock and Key, like a lot of the place names or Lovecraft names, and like then like specifically like uses the name Lovecraft to like as like a town name or something like that. But the Macroverse, I'm just gonna read from Google, is a void
Mhm.
that surrounds the universe and is home to creatures like the shape-shifting alien It, who often appears as Pennywise the Dancing Clown. It's also where Maturin, a benevolent turtle-like being, vomited out the mainstream universe after a stomachache. And then it's also known as having the Other, a being that claims it's the Macroverse's superior being, though it never appears in any novels. Some speculate it could be Gan, the Dark Tower's embodiment, or a Todak beast. The Todash darkness, the Macroverse is heavily implied to be in the Todash darkness. I don't know what that is, but yeah, it's just what Google had. I didn't realize that it got that hitty. It's just like he's a Lovecraftian Eldritch horror that was born in like a primordial old one, who's like the dark counterpart to this benevolent greater turtle thing. Like that's
yep.
freaking bonkers. It's wild.
And it in its sort of natural form is also like a spider.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And if you look
Spider
at like
versus
a
turtle.
spider, I'm just thinking about now. If you look at like a spider versus a turtle, they have sort of like a core center that's almost similar, but then the spider is a lot more spiky and the legs and everything, and yeah, that is fascinating. That
The like the
yeah,
world turtle is like a Native American creation. It might be around the world too, but a lot of the Native Americans believe that they I think a lot of them believed, at least the ones in the Northeast, believed that like the whole world was North America, and that it was on the back of a turtle, a giant turtle, and then that turtle was standing on like four elephants, or there's four elements standing on the turtle's back, but like everything was on a turtle, and like the creator god threw dirt on a turtle's back, and from that kind of everything grew up. So, and then kind of the spider archon thing. I don't know. It's like King was like tapped into something. The whole thing, like that's its whole deal, right? It's to drain fear and to like use those those light things, those like I'm not looking at it, but those like almost like orbs to like that can shapeshift and
yeah.
to like tap into people's
Well,
fears and stuff. It's crazy.
the lights are its natural form, like outside of this universe, and from what I remember, and that's what it kind of is out there, but it's also still exists here on Earth in whatever form it wants to, um, and can travel and things like that. And yeah, it's King is fascinating, and I mean just there, it's these people that write all these things, make all these things, and I've had some minor level experience of this too. They have to be picking up on things.
Oh yeah.
There's just no way to me that they can't be, I don't know, sensing energies, sensing again stories around them, sensing what's going on out there, and interpreting it through um, their own writing. I've heard it said that when you're a writer and you're doing a scene and it's just you're not even, you barely even feel like you're there, like you barely even feel like you're typing the thing out,
Yeah.
that you're tapped into to something. And I've had a few experiences with that where it's just I barely felt like I was here. And so there is something to that. Now, what that is that a kind of traveling some way, um, just like I don't know, altering reality or traveling through levels of reality while you're doing that. I don't know, but
Yeah.
in those cases, especially with people, I think that some people will maybe get into it more than others. Like King seems like he really over time he's really been, and I mean, part of it is I don't write as much as I used to, where he's always been writing,
Yeah.
but
Prolific.
yeah. So, but yeah, I think there's something that people tap into, and I think that's the same with visual art, all kinds of arts. But the ones, of course, that I notice the most are the writing because
Yeah.
that's what I'm into.
I got
He gets in.
I
Oh,
got a
good.
thing real quick and I'll shut up. Go ahead. Go ahead. Just want to get in here. Go ahead.
Oh, good. Good.
The world turtle. I'm reading it from
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank You Menzel. The world turtle, also referred to as a cosmic turtle, is a mythological figure found in several cultures, including Hinduism, Chinese mythology, and Native American traditions. This giant turtle is often depicted as supporting the earth or the heavens, embodying the idea of a stable foundation for the world. Now, it dawned on me, which I've never read any Terry Pratchett, shout out APOC, who has, and we've talked a little bit about this in the past. Uh,
Rivers
but
loves Terry
I was
Pratchett too.
watching, yeah, right. Like I was watching Discworld. So there's a movie called Color of the Shape, or what is this called? Let me find this. This is important. I get it right, I guess. If we're gonna actually, if I'm going to
We
talk
watch
about anything
we
about
watch
it.
Hogfather every year on
Oh, really?
Christmas. Me and Rivers. That takes place in the Discworld universe.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, Discworld. So here we go. I'm just going to read it straight from the thing. So magic is the principal force in the disc world and operates in a similar vein to real world elemental forces such as gravity and electromagnetism. The disk's standing magic field is essentially the local breakdown of reality, which allows a flat planet on the back of a turtle to even exist. The force called magic is really just a function of the relative absence of reality in the local area, much in the same way that the absence of heat is described as coldness. And where is it? That's the line I want. Here, here we go. No, where is it? Oh my gosh, this is so deep. This mythology. Color of Magic is what it's called. Here we go. This is what I was looking for. So reality is spread thinly. Shout out Samhain. Reality is spread thinly on the disk, so events may be affected by expectations, especially those of intelligent species such as humans, dwarves, etc. As such,
Wow.
the disk world is not governed by real-world physics or logic, but by belief and narrative resolution, as we were
Wow.
talking about earlier, storytelling as the actual specific and direct, most potent technology. Interesting. I haven't read any of this, but I did see a part of this movie. It has Sean Astin in it, and it was mildly amusing and entertaining. I was like, do I like this or do I hate this? And I
Yeah.
think the more I'm looking at this, the Wikipedia here real quick, just to kind of fill in the gaps I don't know, I think I kind of love this. Anyway, shut up, Mike. That's what I got.
No. That's like at least in the Hogfather one. I'm not sure if all the movies, but it opens up with a visual of like the world turtle, like carrying the disc world. So I think a lot of flat Earth people love to use that clip as like, see, it's right there, the predictive programming. See, they're showing us exactly like. And in my mind, it's like, well, every single movie, literally every movie, opens up with the globe Earth. So it's like, I mean, if you're gonna use that metaphor, but like,
Slow down, everybody. Slow down.
yeah, but yeah, it's he's another prolific person. I think that the Discworld series is like maybe like 50 books or something like that. Who knows more about it? But he also he wrote like the Good Omens show on Amazon or HBO with Neil Gaiman and stuff. R.I.P. Terry Pratchett. But yeah, it's creepy. It's like imagination is like the board of that reality. You know, trippy.
Like the currency. Yeah,
Yeah,
super cool. I dig it.
yeah.
Yeah, that is wild. Yep.
I got
But I
one
think
Castle
there's
Rock thing.
something.
Oh, sorry, James. Good.
Oh, no, I was just saying. I think there is something to that. All these people that are, putting, especially the extremely prolific ones, they're picking up on something, and they're picking up on it a lot. So, but go
Yeah.
ahead there, Derek.
But just to that, I think just the reward for for the action of creating art, like in anything, whether it be like painting or writing, whatever it is you such a channel of music. You become the mortal instrument for a divine power to come through you, kind of. And then especially the more prolific you get, the more you just become kind of a vessel for that. Like Kobe, or like the more Kobe calls it the muse box, but like the more mastery you have of your craft, then when you're doing it, then you can kind of just like get in the flow state, get into his muse box, he calls it, where something else kind of comes through you. Um, then here Stephen King with like his like drug filled binge weekends where he
Yeah.
like starts on Friday and then wakes up on Sunday with a thousand page book read and stuff. You
Not
know,
even knowing what he wrote till he reads it
yeah,
again.
exactly, yeah, exactly. Like automatic writing basically. But the Castle Rock sync. I think I mentioned this on the first time I was on your show, James. I think, but this is like back when I was really researching like my local region and stuff, and like really getting like I have a big blown up map like of my town, like of the whole county in my room. I was so into it. I was going like walking around woods and stuff, kind of like on the rivers and everything, trying to find what I think these spots are. And there's like one is like a old mental asylum facility asylum in my town.
Mm.
And like if you didn't realize it, by having the map, they own like a quarter or a third of the town, and it's just on like what we consider to be like reservation land, whatever. But they do have a bunch of old buildings like peppered around the whole town. It's a huge thing. Um, and then also I'm into like Kevin Smith podcast, and he has one co-host for his comic podcast, Mark Bernard, and he's like a writer in Hollywood, he's like up and coming writer. He was like a magazine publisher for EW, and then he like quit that to become a writer. One of his first jobs was on Castle Rock, and they were,
Mm.
which is like a fictive, like it's not based on any source material other than like try to tie in all of Stephen King stuff into this one fictitious town. I think
Right.
basically what this Welcome to Derry is kind of doing now, but like less on the source material. They like they kind of made it up. Um,
Right.
and it's all being filmed in Worcester, which is like in Massachusetts, like an hour from my house. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then I listened to the podcast, and this guy Mark Menard is talking about it. He's like, oh, my episode is episode 7, and um, so then come to find out, like if 10 episodes, nine of them were recorded in Worcester. I mean, filmed in Worcester. Episode 7 that he this a person whose podcast I'm a fan of, whose episode it was that he actually wrote himself, was filmed in my town at this mental hospital that ended up being they turned into like either Shawshank or whatever the asylum is in the mythology. And it is where they introduced ley lines and portals into the series, and that Castle Rock was
Mm.
on this portal, they call it the schisma, where these two realities like rubbing up against each other, called the schisma, and that bleed allows things to pass through, and it like happens every 40 years in Castle Rock or something like that. And it's like they introduced that whole concept, that whole like exposition dump in that episode about ley lines and portals at an area where I was researching currently, filmed in my town. The only episode filmed in my town, written by a person who I'm a fan of, who got me into the show in the first place. You know what I mean? And then like a month later, I'm on your podcast talking about it to you because you're a Stephen King fan or whatever. I thought that was a neat little
Yeah.
thing.
That is wild.
You want the wild final
Um,
sync? I mean, mine
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
Go ahead. I
Holy,
just saw you posted there's something in the chat. So yeah, go ahead.
holy s. Okay, so this is the spot across from the place I get gas. It's not always where I get gas, but there's a Costco down there, right? It's a Township of Derry, the public works facility. And what I didn't know is that if you go up the road the other way, I'm gonna go down West Symphony here, and there's an escape room, like like
Oh
right
wow.
there, the same building. Like it's like wait, so
Wow.
it used to be a thing. Here I'm taking the picture. And it never dawned on me until we're talking about it right now, right? As like I said, as somehow this all comes together. This is the same building, but it's the back of the building. Check this out. Check this out. It says escape it, which is clearly that's Stephen King, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh crap! Well, I found Derry, guys.
Okay.
I know where it's at. I know where it's at. And again, stacking synchronicities, effing crazy! Holy crap!
That's wild. Yeah, that is
Wow.
wild. So, yep.
I'm looking
No,
at it
it's
right now. Oh, jeez, that's crazy.
that is amazing, and that's they did the it part very well. That's yeah,
It looks
and
better. I'll get when I drive by there. I'll get a picture of it because that's an old picture. It's now more again. So me being a Stephen King moron, I had no idea. But that's well, welcome to Derry. I can now maybe walk in and disappear.
Yeah. You'll float
yeah,
too, Michael.
yep. That's
Wow.
the synchronicities. You know, they do. It makes me wonder. I mean, is there how does that work? Is there some consciousness somewhere that like helps arrange things sometimes? I really do wonder about that. Maybe not this like a human consciousness that thinks the way that humans do, but just something that's like, oh yeah, here's all these things, and you're gonna find them, and at the right times to where they you notice it. Again, sort of the way that the rest of everything, the phenomenon, the other, it seems like so much of it is just there's not always a point except to get attention to that it's for people to know that it's there somehow.
Yeah. I tend to lean towards like it's all just some huge, giant, elegant clockwork mechanism that's we just like have to kind of tune in and out. We're like in the gears, so we can't really see the whole picture, like see the whole apparatus, and we kind of tune in and out and kind of like try to catch glimpses of it. If we intentionally do it, so it's kind of if you look for things, you'll find them type of deal. Um, Less so than like circa like 2017, 2018, when like I was getting my boss into all this stuff, so we would be like out back for the first like hour and a half and like of the night, like turning the giant pallets into the U-boats, like breaking the load down or whatever. And
Hmm.
like this is basically when I became the NightStocker. Was like we were going to turn this into a podcast. Like we were going to record this like hour and a half of like us kind of just like going back and forth about it. He went from like just watching Ghost Adventures occasionally, sometimes maybe seeing an episode of Ancient Aliens, to fast forward like 2 years later, he thought he was living on a portal and he had MUFON come to his house to like interview him for like multiple times for like hours. Like he was like got fully invested in it or whatever. And but he kind of like annoyed me a little bit with the syncs aspect of it, because he took it as like every sync it was like a personal message to him, whatever, or
Right.
like a what's this trying to tell me? Why me was like the first question. Why me? Oh, why me?
Right.
What's happened to me? And it's like it's possible synchronicities work that way, and I think maybe like asking that question will put value on it. I think like you can magicify your own life and stuff, but I think it's slippery, and you'll get into like Jim Carrey number 23 territory, where it's just like you just kind of you can it's that's a slippery slope where you can start seeing them everywhere. It's that kind of I don't know, seeing those like angel numbers everywhere and that type of stuff, where it's just like you can I think everywhere you look there's elegant mechanisms always. So if you kind of like assign these like personal values to it, then I don't know, it just I like to think of it more as like an impersonal like mechanism rather than like me type of deal. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yep.
I have to
Yeah.
get going now. I've used a lunch and a break to get it up.
Well,
And
thank you
Halloween
so
is
much
officially
for
over
doing
on the
that.
East Coast.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, taking time out from your work and everything. I really
Thank you
appreciate
guys.
that, Derek, as always.
Happy Halloween, everybody. Later. Great show, you guys.
You as well. Thank you. So, yeah, that is some wild stuff there. As usual, Derek. There you go, everyone. That's why I love listening to Mike shows because every so often you'll get Derek as well, and you know, so. But
Exactly.
yeah,
Give me
that's wild.
60 seconds. You got to hit the
Yeah,
little boy's room, and I'll be back to finish this up with you. Be right back.
no problem. I have more stories here I can read. So here we go. This one, and I wanted to get to this one because it's fascinating. This one says, my boyfriend and I went shell searching late at 1:30 in the morning on Palm Beach in California. It was really high tide. You're not allowed to swim in the ocean right now due to a hurricane forming 500 feet away. Maybe it wasn't California. I don't know why I thought it was California. Anyway, as we were shell searching, my boyfriend looked behind us and saw something coming towards us. We thought it was an animal or something, so we ran. Then I second guessed myself and told my boyfriend that it was probably just a raccoon. We we would be fine. And we ended up walking back down to the beach and past where we saw the animal in quotation marks coming towards us, and nothing was there. Then we turned around and there was something human-like sitting on the shore, standing up and then laying down. There was no light reflecting off whatever it was. I took video of it. Then as I stopped recording to call my boyfriend's sister because his phone was dead, we walked closer because I started to think, what if it was a shark that washed up on shore and it needs help? I still wouldn't walk right up to it, but okay. As we walked closer, whatever it was stood up taller than a human and took a big step toward us. And it was wearing a black dress from head to toe. Mind you, it's 1:30 in the morning. Rip currents, weird weather, whatever this was, wasn't human. No person would be standing up playing on the shore in a black long dress in the middle of the night. Please, if anyone has had the same experience, let me know. And that's where that post ends. So it sounds like some kind of a shadowy creature figure with covered in this dress. I wonder if they said head to toe, so like were there just lines in it or something, or was it just the shape of a dress, like above human height? That is just really odd. I really don't know what to make of that one, but
Scary
I
stuff.
thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, there's a lot of folklore there. We did there was a very similar story out near where Derek's at with something kind of similar. I can't remember the name of the entity, but there's I don't know, man, the beaches and the shadows and the darkness and absolutely. To fill in the blanks on this, so I'm such a moron that I didn't realize that right across the street. I don't know if this is like a fake Derry township of Derry, or if that's like the front facade of like the escape room. And I just am so stupid that I never realized it. It's so crazy.
I wonder. I mean, you'd have to know how big the facility, like the escape room facility, is within the building, I guess, to know if it was like. I mean, I guess it could be the whole building, and the dairy thing was intentional. Um, it's really hard to know,
It made me
but yeah,
wonder. It made me wonder, and like I literally am staring at this thing as I'm pumping gas. Right, it's the most boring thing ever, and I'm just like, why am I drawn to this? It's so strange to me. Like I found myself looking up what a township is, and so other kind of weird stuff, right? Other weird thoughts, but I had no idea because I never read Stephen King. But apparently, it's the It escape room. It escape room. My goodness.
that's fascinating. That's funny. That's 2 nights in a row of well, it's really 2 nights continuing of synchronicities, different lines of synchronicities that are going on.
They just keep
So
coming, don't they?
they do, they do. Well, I would love to keep going for another hour or two, but I don't think I should. We've already been going for 2 hours, which is amazing. So I think we'll wrap it up. But Mike, thank you again, and also to Derek as well. But thank you, Mike, for joining me on the show tonight.
Glad to be here. Happy Samhain. Thanks for having me. And again, multiple congratulations on 5 years of grind. It's not an easy thing to do, and 5 year anniversary is not something to be laughed off. And so keep up the good work, and always a pleasure. And we'll talk to you soon, man.
You as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll drop myself down so you don't even got to worry about it.
Awesome. It's like you do this all the time or something. Huh. Weird. But yeah, everyone, thank you all for being here and listening in, and for all the great chat. I didn't get to even read all of it, but appreciate everything. And for those of you who are listening to this live, I will be back tomorrow night for another one of these experiences shows. So look forward to more of this to close out the weekend, basically, as far as my shows go. Thank you all for being here and listening in, and happy Halloween. And I will talk